Hello, I'm going to give you my presentation on understanding the structure of reading and its intervention. As you see, the first page, we have some wonderful children reading. Look like they're enjoying the books that they're reading. This is what we want to see with reading intervention being successful. Students reading because they want to read and they enjoy reading. Let's look at the purpose for implementing the structures of interventions. The purpose is to improve students' reading skills and to avoid students from failing. It's to help increase decoding fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary. With interventions, the idea is to begin with the end in mind. With the particular strategies used for interventions, it's thinking ahead of where you want the child to be and where his or her reading level should be. What are the common factors that cause children to struggle with reading? Well, we know learning disabilities, that's always number one. Students enter the school with no literacy experience at all. And it simply means that they weren't exposed to reading before they started school. There were no literary examples being taught, or he or she just didn't see any literacy in the environment. And the environment could be outside as well as inside the home. Prior to receiving reading instructions, did not address the reading deficiency, meaning that a child may have been in the second grade and now he or she is in third grade and they had reading deficiencies, but it wasn't properly addressed. So what the intervention we have in mind always is early intervention and planning. And we want to start working with the scholars or students earlier on in the school year to avoid, again, student failure. Let's look at the types of intervention. We have RTI, QRI 5, and we have example guided reading in other programs. What is RTI? RTI is a framework used to identify and track students who are not successful in a particular reading area of literacy. And this is in the area of comprehension, decoding, phonemics, and to prevent them from failing, as I mentioned earlier. It's a collaborative effort that should take place with the school support team. A school support team will consist of the school psychologists, the teachers, social workers, and of course a parent is also involved, and a special education teacher. And what this team does is analyze the data and use that data to guide the teacher in planning instruction to target the area of deficiency. We also want to look at recommendation 1. So there's 5 recommendations when you're doing RTI interventions. I'm going to speak on 1 first. Screen all students, which we mentioned. You want to screen them, and we're screening them because you have already determined that the student is not able to read fluently, is not able to comprehend, and the student is not on grade level. So you want to screen them, and you want to monitor the progress and to a level of accuracy, and use benchmarks as your guide. Let's look at recommendation 2. Now, by the time you get to recommendation 2, you're starting more assessments. You want to provide differentiated reading instruction for all the students based on their assessments. Recommendation 3, you want to provide more intensive systematic instruction up to about 3 foundational reading skills. And those skills could be comprehension, decoding, being able to recognize words when they see them, being able to read at a certain speed. So you want to look for those foundational skills, as well as how does the student read expressively? Does the student understand when he sees certain grammatical language, such as exclamation points, Does the student stop when he sees a comma? Those sort of things. Recommendation 4, you want to monitor the progress of Tier 2 students at least once a month. I would recommend more, but the research says once a month. You want to use the data to determine whether the students will still require intervention. And you also want to look at the progress and design Tier 3 intervention plan as well. Monitor progress of Tier 2 students on a regular basis using grade appropriate measures. Progress monitoring should occur at least 8 times during the school year. Let's take a look at recommendation 5. And recommendation 5 provides intensive instruction on the daily instruction, which is the lesson planning. Basically, it promotes development of the various components of the reading proficiency. You want to implement concentrated and focus on small targeted reading skills and small targeted groups. You want to adjust the overall lesson pace of the students to see where they are. You want to schedule multiple intended instructional sessions daily, which I was going to mention earlier, small groups. Small group can be a part of that. You want to include opportunities for extensive practice and high quality feedback with one-on-one instruction. You want to, towards the end of the week, check in with the student, ask them how they think they're doing. How do they believe their reading is improving, and what other strategies do they think we can use with them? It's good to get their input as well because it empowers them to want to be a part of the intervention process even more so than just a subject, but to really be a part of it. You want to ensure that Tier 3 students are mastering the skills before you move on. We tend to not focus on our Tier 3 students because they're proficient, but even though they're proficient, we want to make sure they have mastered all the skills, all the strategies of organizing thoughts, summarizing thoughts, being able to explain their thoughts, and being able to read fluently before we can move on to another level. Look how happy these children are in this picture, right? Just laughing, loving, enjoying the progress they're making. We want to look at QR5, which is the qualitative reading inventory. Now, with QR5, this is another informal tool of assessment, and with this tool, it's an inventory that is individually administered, informal reading inventory that provides information about the conditions under which the students can identify words and comprehend text successfully, and the conditions where they can't do that. And this is when you know that you have to pull the correct types of books for them to read. This contains narrative expository passages at the elementary stage as well as the high school level. And all our self-contained sections highly representative of the structure and the topics necessary to build the reading skills and move their levels. What I want to also add about the reading inventory tool is that it provides a graded word list, which is important. One of the things I always do when I'm working with tools such as this one is I point out to the students to pay attention to the key words in the list. Look at them. Know you're going to see them throughout the text. If they're a Tier 1 student, I may have them look at it a little longer before they even begin reading for me. So I want to make sure that they are able to recognize the word and know how it relates to the text. Instructions can measure the comprehension by retelling passages and using implicit and explicit questions and using other devices. I want to move on to guided reading. The guided reading piece is very important. It's a really great informal assessment tool. We use it a lot. Guided reading can be done in different ways depending on where you are. But one thing's for sure, it's recommended that it's a small group reading instruction, and it's designed to provide differentiated teaching. What does that mean? We hear the term, but in this manner, You want to target with the end goal in mind in each individual student. So we're listening to what they're reading. We're also tracking on a tracking sheet how long it takes them to read, and if they are able to tell you what it is the text is about. Can they find the main idea? Can they find a supporting detail? Can they make an inference? Can they identify the text features? What is the text feature trying to tell them? So this is a time when we can work more closely with students. I can tell you that in my school, we do 3 sections. So with guided readings, I apologize, we have 3 groups. And with the 3 groups, they rotate, and each group has to get to one of the educators in the classroom. We have a technology group where we have Chromebooks set up. They can go there and they can work on iReady, which is another informal assessment. It's another informal assessment / intervention, because iReady allows students to work. It's an individualized paced work where we actually upload work according to where the student is. So if it's a tier 1 student, tier 2 or 3, that is the work that we upload for them. We use that data to analyze students' growth. With the iReady, as I mentioned before, we use it as a part of our guided reading. It is used in guided reading, and it is also used throughout the week, weekly, daily. Students have to receive 30 minutes of iReady per day for 5 days a week. And when the student has passed a level, let's say the student is in reading and is doing cause and effect. After several exercise and practice with cause and effect, the student can move on to different levels, can now move on to tier 3 level in cause and effects. The same goes for writing and math. It's an awesome tool. And another one I want to talk briefly about is Reading Rockets. Reading Rockets is really great. Reading Rockets is a free intervention program that could be accessed just about anywhere. It's a multimedia literacy. According to Reading Rockets, 33% of our 4th graders read below basic reading level. And this is why you can say they're on a campaign for literacy, for promoting literacy. They have strategies for teachers, parents, administrators, librarians, all stakeholders. They have strategies for. And it's offered in 11 different languages, which is awesome, because I don't know of that many reading intervention programs that are offered in other languages. They provide resources about teaching children who struggle. This program specializes with struggling readers, which is why it's a part of the intervention program I'm sharing with you. Also, they have 45 different educational partners, and when a reading program has educational partners, that really says something about the program. They're also featured on public broadcasting channels because they really want to educate the community. I want to say that child care providers can also benefit from Reading Rockets, because we know that if preschoolers are getting basic foundations on exposing children to books, then by the time they get to kindergarten, some of our work is somewhat done. And I want to also share that Reading Rocket also offers free professional development, Reading 101. It's really great. And I want to also share that it's one of these intervention programs that are commonly used in school and would be great to have during a professional development at any school, to show teachers, to introduce it to teachers and educators and TAs like me. And it's really a really great program.